All right, everyone. Today, we have a very special treat for you because we are joined by the incredible AC Bradley.
Woo!
AC, welcome to Friends from Work.
Thanks for having me. That was only slightly awkward.
You know, we did that for Michael Waldron too, and he was like, I wrote one episode and I'm already the incredible. So join the club. You're the incredible AC Bradley.
That's the difference between animation and live action. I think I've written more than 50 episodes of television at this point.
Oh my gosh. That's wild.
So AC, I kind of want to start here. Different vibe. We all as fans just finished episode 2, which we stinking loved. And one of the things Robby and I were talking about on the podcast was the Chadwick side of this all, right? And we both thought it was such a cool tribute that you wrote this storyline that T'Challa is kind of the one that turns everything around through his just noble nature and through his conversation. And then with Chadwick passing, it is a crazy tribute. How much of that did you have planned out before you lost him? And like, did that change at all once that changed?
To be very honest with you, animation, I joke, is a medium of patience. We locked Animatic and recorded Chadwick by, I want to say, definitely by January 2020.
Wow.
And so it was shipped off to animation houses.
Wow.
To our animators probably around the time the pandemic started.
Wow.
So everything was kind of done. Now, when it came to doing the music and the color correction and making sure everything else was perfect, those final elements, that all started after his passing and took on a much greater importance. We wanted to make sure this episode was as, I hate to say perfect as can be, but more as close to the perfect tribute as possible. But the episode itself was, it was written back in January, February 2019.
Wow.
Well,
Yeah.
I love that that's the vibe you guys took even before you knew that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Really cool.
I mean, it did turn out as such a beautiful tribute. And I know Kyle and I were really grateful for that. That actually raises another question. I saw in an interview that you noted when you were planning out different episode ideas that Marvel had told you to maybe steer away from the characters that were already getting their own Disney Plus character or getting their own Disney Plus series.
Yes.
And I was curious, how much at that point did you know plot wise about series like WandaVision and Loki, especially to the extent that those would kind of potentially dovetail into What If with the multiverse things?
I knew broad strokes.
Okay.
Actually, I think I heard the original, the whole, here's the elevator pitch for WandaVision from Jack Schaefer in the ladies' room.
No way.
I was like, what's going on?
What a place.
Well, it's the women's room. And I think my lasting tribute to Marvel might be that I got the bench put in the ladies' bathroom. Because you will have at Marvel, you'll have your scripts, your clip. I usually have a legal pad. You might have confidential data, and you're going into the bathroom. I'm like, I can't leave this out in the hall. And there's nowhere to put it in here except in the sink, which I can't do. So I wrote a letter to facilities and got a bench put into the ladies' room so we could put our shit while you go take a shit. And Jack was like, "You got a bench?" I'm like, "I got us the bench." And then my assistant, my poor assistant, who's a guy, he's like, "Yeah, I guess for the sake of equality, they put a bench in the men's room too." I'm like, "Great, that's great." He went, "No, they put it between the urinals."
Wow. Interesting.
A lot of splatter there.
He's like, "So I guess you can sit while your friend," I don't know.
What an intimate experience.
I don't know how things work in the ladies' bathroom, but you've also made an impact for the men. So when it came to knowing the show, so I knew the basic plot for one. I knew the basic plot for most of the shows.
Okay.
Michael Waldron, we had a quick meeting with, and he gave again, this was they hadn't even hired the room yet. This is kind of what we're doing on Loki. Same with Falcon. I knew kind of where they were going. I always kind of knew what comic books they were kind of pulling from. The Battle for the Shield, the Vision comic books to a degree. with Loki, like this is what we're playing around with the TVA. So, and then unlike a lot of the other shows, because What If hits so many different things,
right,
of all the characters, we were usually very easily read into anything we needed. I had copies of all the scripts early on.
Wow.
I know my kid's sister only found out a couple of weeks ago that I had copies of all the Loki episodes for like 2 years. Yeah. Well, it was just so I knew what not to hit. And it had nothing to do with, it was just so I knew where everything was going. So I didn't accidentally walk into anything.
Right.
We would be read in if like we were doing a Doctor Strange episode. I could sit down with one of the producers and be like, hey, just give me a heads up. Where are you guys going with the story? So I can craft a story that doesn't, because I walked into so many of the movies early on that they took pity on me and very nicely gave me carte blanche. And I knew how to keep a secret. And I hopefully know how to keep a secret.
Right.
Because my sister didn't realize that I knew what happened in Loki.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's crazy because, you know, you hear all the stories about, you know, Tom Holland not even knowing the full plots of these movies he's in. So you are over here just holding all of this information.
Yeah. She has all the info.
Yeah. I learned really early on, we were meeting with art directors, I want to say, like, so this is in like fall 2018, like this is early. And we have an art director, and I made a joke about King. And the art director went, oh my God, King's going to be somewhere? And I went, oh no, I'm just making a joke. I don't know anything. And then after the meeting, my executive went, shh, about King. And I went, I went, King is a thing? We're doing King? You guys are doing King? We might, just don't. So now I adopted the opposite kind of like my way of avoiding spoilers and leaking stuff was to purposely be wrong, which is a little bit.
That's fun.
That's a dangerous game though, too.
Well, yeah, that's how everyone thinks now that Luke Skywalker is going to be in an episode of What If. Because I would always tell people that. My favorite was I was at a drinks with a buddy right before Comic-Con, and he went, "Are you going to do The Watcher?" And I went, "Oh, I don't know who that is."
Got him.
And he went, "It's a Fantastic Four character." I went, "Oh, if he premiered the Fantastic Four, I don't know it, man. I don't know it." And then a week, like less than like 48 hours later, we revealed Jeffrey Wright at Comic-Con. And he went, how fast was that casting? And I went, we recorded him. I was like, we're way past that. I just can't tell anyone anything. So I play dumb or I purposely say the wrong thing.
He's like, man, that conversation really made an impact on her.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like 48 hours, like the day before. I think we went for drinks the day before Comic-Con.
It's funny that you talk about the different things that you might have accidentally walked into, because we are hitting a point now where things from the comics are sort of more fair game than I feel like they ever have been in the MCU. Things that 10 years ago never would have. Like we joked whenever the first WandaVision previews came out that, you know, Agnes was likely a call out to Agatha Harkness, but I was like, but they're never going to do Agatha Harkness and an MCU Disney Plus series. They're not going to, and if they do, it won't be someone from the Salem witch trials era. And you know, obviously we were proven wrong. And I feel like What If is a great example of that. It feels like this opportunity to do anything and everything that folks love about Marvel in the comics, but firmly rooted in the MCU.
We do have to stick to the MCU, which was, I think some people might be a little bit disappointed that we're not doing more. Like, we can't touch the X-Men, guys. Sorry. While I would love to, we can't. But we were able to do Marvel Zombies, which I think is something I don't think we were going to see that in the MCU up until What If.
Sure.
And I was actually surprised that made the list, because I threw it into our original 30 almost as a seat filler. I was like, oh, I need another episode idea. Let me throw in Zombies. And Kevin was like, no, that's such a cult favorite. I am down. You're doing Zombies. And
I love that.
I was like, oh, we are doing, okay. Yeah, I'm down for that. I was like, oh, there goes another episode idea I like. But we were able to pull from the comic book more directly for that episode.
One of our favorite themes that keeps recurring on this podcast is every time we get a chance to interview someone and they report what Kevin's feedback was, it seems like his feedback is always like, yeah, or go further, or push the boundary further. Was that kind of your experience?
Pretty much. He's not what I expected. He's in the sense that he's the nicest guy. There's no ego on him whatsoever.
Love that.
He's the kind of guy that, like, on the second week on the job, my poor assistant broke his leg in 3 places playing rugby.
Oh gosh.
Oh no.
And I was like, don't worry about your job. Don't worry about what you have to, like, just get better. Take time off. Like, if you have to take your time off, like, take the next week or two, like, figure it. I don't know how can I help you? But don't worry about your job. My poor assistant came in like day 2 of breaking his leg because we had a big Kevin meeting. And he just felt like, I've only been here a week. And so he got to the conference room early and was sitting there, like, in the corner of his laptop out and his leg, like, in a big cast. And Kevin walked in and looked at him. He went, man, I heard what happened. Take care of yourself. And he's like, Kevin Feige just looked me in the eye ahead of the studio, knew how I hurt my leg, and told me to get better. He's like, that never happens. Wow. I'm an assistant. And I was like, he's that kind of guy. And so most, like, the feedback was always encouraging and very much like you're working with people and not just for someone. And he wants you to bring a vision to it and your voice and tell a story. I always say, if Kevin's love was astrophysics, he'd be leading the trip to Mars. That's the kind of guy he is.
I love that.
That's
cool.
Cool.
He was great.
Yeah. he seems like such a genuine fan that in some ways it feels like What If would be kind of a dream scenario for him, because he I'm sure, having been involved in all these stories at every step of the way, he's so acquainted with the details. And so I'm sure every little Easter egg, everything that you're digging up in these episodes is a ton of fun for him to see play out.
Oh, Kevin is the ultimate fan, not just of Marvel, but of comic books, movies, of Disney, of Disney trivia. Like, he knows all of it. You can ask him, like, he'll tell you the history of Disneyland. He's incredibly smart, and his love for everything from, like, Indiana Jones, Star Wars, like, you drop a pop cultural reference, the man picks it up. Like, I was kind of surprised, because sometimes you're like, should I mention Q from Star Trek? It might not. And he's like, no, I know exactly who that is. What else? I pitched he pitched an episode. I pitched an episode once, and he went, sounds like a holodeck story. I was like, is that a bad thing? It's not a great thing. I was like, okay. Damn it, I love the holodeck episode.
Well, speaking of being fans, we're big fans of what you've been doing so far with What If. In particular, 2 characters we've been massive fans of your take on was Thanos and Hank Pym. And so I guess, can you speak a little bit to where those 2 stories came from when you sat down to write it?
This is airing after tomorrow, right?
Correct. Yep.
Correct.
This will be next Monday. Sorry.
Sorry, making sure, because Disney is listening.
Yeah.
When it came to Thanos, when it came to breaking episode 2, Matt Chauncey and I wanted to do a heist episode. We wanted to have some fun with T'Challa. We kind of already knew, like, what we wanted to say about T'Challa, what we want to say about the Ravagers. Now we actually had to find the scenario. And we're tossing around different ideas. We love the notion of the collector, because we saw it in Guardians 1, we saw it again in Infinity War, but we just felt like there's more to do. And it's such a great location. Wouldn't it be fun to go there? We were then talking about the Thanos of it all. Like, how does Thanos play into it? If you look at the timeline of Guardians, it's very condensed, and Thanos actually pops up pretty fast. And the more we were talking, we were like, well, if Thanos was taken out of the picture, that would leave a power vacuum, which would make the collector, like, if he took it over, 10 times stronger. We can kind of then do what we want with the collector. And then we could say, if anyone could talk sense into Thanos, and talking sense into him before he started actually acquiring the stones, like early on.
That's a key detail. Yes.
Yeah. We had pictured like a 19-year-old T'Challa sat Thanos down, or maybe even a little younger, like just someone young and bright, like a young Barack Obama could probably have changed. Basically talk some sense into him. And that way we could also see a different side of Nebula.
We loved the take on Nebula.
Yeah, we wanted a femme fatale character because it's such a cornerstone of like heist movies. And we didn't want to use Gamora because when she's a very big character and very cool, and we wanted to use her somewhere else in the series. But also Peter Quill and Gamora have such a great relationship, and or like we don't want to replicate that relationship. We don't want to just slot in a different dude. So then we're like, well, kind of Nebula would be interesting. And to be honest, a lot of the chemistry was actually Karen Gillan and Chadwick Boseman, like their voices mixing and the energy they brought to the roles. And they found it fun that those two had a flirtation between them. And it was one of those things that the more we talked about it, the more pieces started falling into place. And it kind of was just working. And there's this myth that writing should be hard and arduous and that we should all be Hemingway, downing the bottle, breaking it on the desk, slitting our wrists. But no, when stuff falls into place and you can get excited by an idea and know how to start like executing it, and it makes you smile. And those are usually the best scripts and the best episodes. Episode 3 was almost the same way. We knew going in, when it came down to like the episode, I'm always about like, let's just find a different take on the character. Like we knew we want to do something in Fury's big week. What do we want to do? What can we say about Fury that hasn't been said before, that hasn't been done in the MCU? And that was, let's put him through the ringer. Let's test his greatest success by making it a failure. And what happens?
Wow. I love that.
Because he's the man who sees everything, knows everything in the
always has a
Avengers
plan.
world. Yeah. Let's just, what happens when you strip all those plans away? Who is he? Now, as for the reveal of the killer, that was literally us going, okay. Because you work backwards. Sorry, when you break a murder mystery, you work backwards. So like, okay, who's the killer? Who hates the Avengers? Who hates S.H.I.E.L.D.? And who's active around this time? We're like, well, Baron Zemo, not yet, because that's post-Avengers. And we started playing and we're like, Hank Pym hates the Avengers. Like he hates S.H.I.E.L.D. And that's pretty canon. What would make him actually do this? What would drive him over the edge? And it would obviously be Hope. And the idea was that Hope followed more in her mother's footsteps, became a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. And before Hope and Hank could actually reconcile, as they do in the first Ant-Man movie, she died. And that sent Hank to a very dark place. And his view is, S.H.I.E.L.D. has cost me both my wife and my daughter. And Fury, your whole thing is you take people and you turn them into soldiers. You turn them into cannon fodder. And I'm sick of it. And from his point of view, it actually makes sense because that is Fury's kind of superpower. And we just kind of, and then you take the pieces from there and start breaking it and seeing how everything works together, finding the patterns. And I was very happy of how that episode came out because it's so much plot.
Yeah.
It's so intricate. So a lot of credit actually goes to our editors, Joel and Graham Fisher, for slicing those scenes together because it was not an easy one to bring to life. But I'm very happy with it. It was like jokingly, we kept calling it Law and Order MCU.
I think that was our favorite of the 3, honestly.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's been fun because I've loved each episode, but each week it's been better to me. And so but that one that's such a powerful idea, I think, to explore the idea of Fury transforming people into soldiers, because that's dealt with a bit in Avengers in that really iconic scene on the helicarrier. And so to play that out more at that particular moment, whenever Tony Stark is asking the same things on some level back in Iron Man 2. So that's such a fun idea. I thought one of the things that was really fun about that episode was it's the only time that we've seen, Mark Ruffalo's Hulk put into the Incredible Hulk context. We've never had things really directly referenced. Like Avengers gives us the I broke Harlem line, and I think that's all we really got. So that had to be kind of fun for you to be the first person to play with.
When it came to the episode, that was almost a pre-slotted in episode when I started the show. Marvel wanted that. they wanted, that was kind of, how do I say this? When it came to coming up with ideas for the season, one of the things was, we would love if you could find a way to do Fury's big week. It's a deep cut with fans. It's an interesting time in phase 1. Is there anything that we can do with it? And I think my first pitch was like, yeah, we'll make, and I think I pitched as a French farce. Like, we'll do like a comedy episode. But then when I was like, wait a minute, our main character is going to be Fury. What's something else we get? How can we go deeper? And that's where the noir mystery came from. So they wanted, Brad Winderbaum and Kevin, they wanted to do something with that period of time. Brad Winderbaum was started at Marvel back during Iron Man. So he's been there since day one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he knows the whole lore backwards and forwards. He's like, if there's something to do, because people don't realize that Iron Man 2, Hulk and Thor all took place in that 1 week. And I was like, that, I knew that. And I did know that going in. I was like, that, yeah, we can find something. And Coulson got to live, which I
oh, yeah, true.
I know. I'm waiting for Twitter to discover that.
Yeah.
Well, we have loved it so much. Is there anything you're allowed to say or that you won't get sniped for about What If or what's new with AC Bradley going forward?
I guess
no
I'm
pressure.
available. I know. I'm like, I guess I'm available.
No pressure.
We know now that you're holding, like the crown jewels of Disney.
I'm not trying to get an
head,
answer out of her.
So yeah, we're careful here.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I'm really excited for people to see our Doctor Strange episode, especially, and Zombies is so much fun. And we have a couple other surprising episodes later on this season. In season 2, it's more weird. I'll tell you that much. Season 2 gets weirder. And a little bit more.
Love that.
Yeah, and we were able to bring in more of phase 4 into season 2, which was nice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there will be some new characters popping up. And as for me, I'm technically available, I guess.
Free agent.
Yeah, pretty much these days. But it's been such a blast to work on What If. It's been a dream come true. How often in your career do you get to write one superhero story, let alone all of them?
Right. Well, it's been so much fun. And you talked about people wishing there was more stuff from the comics potentially, but I think what you've done and the exact approach that y'all have taken is perfect. We have the What If comics, which are fantastic. And I have read a lot of them, but this is exactly what I would have wanted from an MCU series called What If, which is a bunch of what if MCU moments. So thank you so much for that. We are so excited to see how the rest of season 1 and beyond plays out. Maybe after we finish everything up and you're freed up to talk a little bit, we can have you back on and reflect on all of the moments we don't know about yet.
Definitely. I'm down for that. Yeah. The Marvel thing, I don't want to die.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I don't either.
I had to get my cleaning lady to sign an NDA.
Oh, no.
Oh, gosh.
I have a lock on my office. It was just a scare tactic, I guess. It's insane.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. We really appreciate your time. Seriously.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Take
We'll
care.
talk to you down the road. Thank you.
Talk to you then. Bye.
See you.